I like to begin this talk with a very personal story about my great-great-grandmother, Juana. All right. So let's go back to the late 1800s, to the south of Venezuela, close to the jungle, a fairly wild place. Only the most daring would venture into it. So why did Juana move there? Where did she come from? Honestly, I have no idea. I only became aware of her existence a couple of years ago, so I know very little about her. I know that she was a mulata, someone of mixed race, clear African ancestry. I know that her last name was Carvajal, which is Sephardic Jewish. I also know that she had a child, my great grandfather, and that she had this child with an immigrant from the Canary Islands of last name De Armas. Now, apparently, this Mr. De Armas had a family in the Canary Islands that eventually joined him in Venezuela. And whenever this happened, I was told that Juana gave her child to the De Armas family and disappeared. So my great-grandfather learned the trade of apothecary from his father, but he didn't get his last name. Reason why, a few generations later, I still carry the name of my great-great-grandmother, Juana Carvajal, the one who apparently vanished. Now, as you may imagine, I would love the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with my great-great-grandparents. I have so many questions that I'll never get to ask, answers that I'll probably never get to have. It doesn't help that there was no journals, no writings, and that most of my family, perhaps due to a certain shame, don't even know about this story. So Juana's legacy is written with gaps, questions, and assumptions. But things are different today. I say that because I have kids of my own. And in 100 years from now, granted that my kids have kids, and their kids have kids, and their kids have kids, lots of kids, it'll be almost impossible for my great-great-grandchildren not to know about me. And the reason why is because unlike Juana's time, when stories were recorded by sharing them with one another or writing them, assuming people knew how to read and write, today, my actions, your actions, our collective actions are constantly being recorded by the digital environment. Some of this documentation happens somewhat intentionally, like when you send an email or a text, or you post something on social media. A lot of it is happening entirely unintentional, like when those apps in your phones are tracking where you're at, who you're with, what you're doing. It's a very interesting reflection, just how much of our lives is being recorded right now. Now, all of this recording, intentional or unintentional, is part of something that is called your digital legacy. Now, think of digital legacy as a record of everything you do within the digital environment. A record that you get to have, whether you want it or not. Now, let me explain to you in a more visual way. Imagine you are a sculptor, and you're actively making this mold for a statue of yourself. Every email you send, every text you send, every playlist you create, every like that you click is a chisel. You're actively making this mold within your actions in the digital environment, which generate data. Click, data, chisel. Click, data, chisel. Click. Do you mean to click on that? Data, chisel. Now, some of these molds will be very accurate, actual representations of who you are. They will feel like you. A lot of those molds will be nothing like you. In fact, most molds will not even belong to you or your descendants. They'll be owned by these giant companies that we all love and use, that profit from the data that we produce and leave behind. It's a topic of reflection and research that deserves a great deal of our attention. My humble opinion. I mean, think about it. What happens to humanity when most of the things that we say, do, or think, and even those that we're persuaded to think, are preserved forever? So far, I've come to the realization that we really have about 3 main options on how to deal with this reality. You can ignore all of this, scroll away, just pretend that all the data that you're producing has no value, and leave behind a digital mold that is not exactly you for whoever to own. You can reject all of this. No phones, no technology, no recording. Just Go into the jungle. Good luck. Or you can actively take control of it and shape your mold with intention. Determine as much as you can what your digital legacy will look like and who it will serve. I personally believe that this option is the only one that really makes sense. And I think that embracing it opens up an entire world of possibilities. First of all, it opens our eyes to the incredible value that exists within the data that we're producing. Because every passive aggressive email that you all send, every selfie that you take, every cat video that you like and share, it's all part of your digital legacy. A digital mold that is a reflection of our decision making, of the way that we think, of the way that we are. It carries forward our essence. So this digital mold is also the link between us and the people who come after us. Intentionality opens up a world of possibilities. I'll give you an example. With all of this in mind, let's reimagine cemeteries. Instead of sad rows of decaying tombstones, maybe a vibrant space where people can go and interact with the digital legacies of those who came before them. You can just walk up to a memorial and ask a question. Hi, Dad, Mom, friend. I'm going through this issue. What will you do? And you would get an answer. Not because they're physically there, but because the stories they recorded, the lessons that they shared, the wisdom that exists within the data that they left behind lives on within their digital molds. And if you think that this is a futuristic idea, it isn't. Current advancements in artificial intelligence, computational power and strategies, quantum computing, coupled with this vast amounts of data that we're producing, is making those interactions quite possible. It is a very interesting moment in history. And what's also fascinating is that as this concept of digital legacy becomes more important to all of us, it will affect not only our future relationships, but the relationships that we have right now in the present. It will affect our present. Let's think about all the elderly people in our families that we love. Let's think about all those people that we know with a debilitating chronic illness whose life expectancy might be greatly diminished. What if, given the fact that they will leave a digital mold, whether they want it or not, what if we help them take control of their digital legacies while they're still living? Help them compile and scrape all that data that exists within their emails, texts, social media, store it in a secure place, create a plan for how that data will be used in the future, or delete it. What if we sat down with them to record their stories, their thoughts, their ideas, their goals, aspirations, dreams, the lessons that they may want to share with future generations? Perhaps embracing that type of intentionality might even transform the way that we see our final days, where what we now can only see as the end becomes an opportunity to create a bridge of knowledge transfer across generations. Perhaps hospice isn't about waiting for someone to die, but about maybe a beautiful chance to a group of people to just come together and actively work to shape someone's legacy for the future. Now, I'm not taking death for granted. Death is quite real and very painful. And I'm not saying that we're made out of data somehow, because even if for some reason they use this data to bring us back from the dead, it would only be a digital illusion created by computers, and that is true. But to close this talk, I would like to leave you with a last thought. This lovely picture right here is also a digital illusion. The story might be true, as far as I know, but the people in it are created by artificial intelligence, a computer. And yet, when I first generated this picture, it brought me great comfort. It gave me a sense of closure, as if I was able to repair one of the many gaps that exists within the story of my great-great-grandmother Juana. Just by symbolically bringing these two souls back together, these two souls that live inside of me and who I am inside of my DNA. So isn't that strange? that something artificial can touch us so deeply. It tells us that there's something profoundly human about artificial intelligence. It is the mirror of humanity. It is a reflection of who we are. And that is the power of your digital legacies. No, it's not you, but it is a reflection of you. And for those who come after you, that reflection might mean everything. Because let's face it, it would be awesome for your great grandkids to sit down and have a conversation with your digital self. Hey, Pop, I don't know my place in the world. I feel lost. Can you help me? And for you to give him a good answer, not because you're physically there, but because you took the necessary steps today to shape your mold with intention. You can choose to ignore all of this. Just let Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, they'll take care of it. You can run away from all this, back into the wilderness. I've talked about it many times. Or you can take control of it and exercise your agency, because agency is that one thing that separates us from the animals and the machines. This crazy idea that we actually have the power to shape our own realities, to shape our future, even after we're gone. Why not? To shape the way that people will see us, to shape the type of knowledge that we'll leave behind, and to shape our contribution to the building of a new society, hopefully a better society, that we're all collectively creating right now with our actions, whether you mean to do it or not. Thank you very much.